Today, we're creating the most villainous crew in all of anime history. But before we begin, let's set some basic rules. First, we can only take one character per universe. For example, if we choose Aizen as our captain, we can't pick anyone else from the Bleach universe. Second, we can only pick characters who were villains at any point in their series, no matter if they eventually had a redemption arc or not. With that said, let's start from the very basic, the captain of our crew. For this role, we have plenty of options, like Blackbeard from One Piece, Aizen from Bleach, Meruem from Hunter x Hunter, and many more. But if you ask me, there is no entity in the entire anime multiverse more qualified to captain this crew than Frieza. You see, a captain's primary duty is to command absolute authority and possess enough power that no rebellion could ever succeed. Frieza embodies this perfectly. He's a literal galactic emperor who successfully managed the Frieza Force for decades. His leadership is ruthless but effective. He rewards competence and obliterates failure. It's exactly the kind of energy a villainous crew needs. And if you somehow don't know, Frieza is also insanely powerful. In his Black Frieza form, he one-shotted both Ultra Instinct Goku and Ultra Ego Vegeta at the same time. So yeah, there's not much to debate here. For captain, we're taking Frieza. Now, before we move ahead, if you are enjoying this video so far, make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and let's keep going. We talked about Frieza, but what about his right-hand man next? For a crew led by a galactic tyrant, the right-hand man has to be someone who inspires fear and has the adaptability to eliminate any threat before it ever reaches the captain. And for this role, I'm choosing none other than Cosmic Garo. Now, for those saying he's not a villain, technically he was during the Monster Association arc, and according to our rules, that makes him eligible. To understand Garo's strength, just look at his most legendary feat. He survived a direct confrontation with Saitama and even attempted to perfectly copy Saitama's strength. Their clash resulted in the Serious Punch Squared, an impact so catastrophic it destroyed countless stars and left a void in the galaxy visible from Earth. A vice captain who can wipe out star systems in a single exchange, survive the vacuum of space, and grow exponentially to match his opponent's power is exactly the kind of monster worthy of standing beside Frieza. So, for the right-hand man, I'm going with Cosmic Garo. We talked about right-hand man, but what about the left-hand next? Now, we could choose beings like Yhwach or Sukuna for this role, but I want to save their universes for later, so we can use them in other positions. With that said, I believe Meruem from Hunter x Hunter is the better option here. You see, if Garo is the crew's raw destructive force, then Meruem, the king of the Chimera Ants, is the unrivaled tactical genius and defensive pillar that solidifies the crew's invincibility. A left-hand man must have the intellect to command in the captain's absence and the durability to withstand any siege. Meruem's evolution in the Chimera Ant arc embodies exactly that. His strategic processing power is superhuman. Just days after his birth, he mastered complex strategy games, showing an innate ability to analyze endless variables and instantly predict enemy patterns. Physically, Meruem's resilience is on another level. In his battle against Isaac Netero, he withstood thousands of supersonic strikes from the 100-type Guanyin Bonavista and even tanked the Zero Hand, a blast containing all of Netero's life energy, walking away with only minor injuries. So, for the left-hand man, I choose Meruem. Now we need an essential part of this crew, a navigator. Well, we don't really have a traditional villain who fits this role perfectly, but we do have someone who can guide the crew wherever they need to go. For this role, I think Griffith from Berserk is the best choice. You see, in a normal crew, a navigator's job is to predict the weather and guide the ship safely to its destination. Griffith does that, but on a god-tier metaphysical level. Well, let me explain. Griffith ensures the crew literally cannot have bad luck. If the crew sails into a trap, Griffith manipulates fate so that the trap malfunctions or the enemy misses. He charts a path where victory isn't just likely, it's the only possible outcome. He can even warp space around the ship, shorten distances, or bend reality to bypass physical obstacles entirely, turning long voyages into instant travel. So yeah, for the navigator role, we have to go with Griffith. Next, we need a cook for our crew. Again, for this role, we don't really have a traditional villain who's actually a cook, so we need someone who can technically fit this role. And for that, I have one character in mind, Ryomen Sukuna. Now, the reason we're taking Sukuna as the cook is simple. This man literally cooked Gojo. Okay, jokes jokes apart, Sukuna's entire arsenal and philosophy revolve around the concepts of cooking, cutting, and consumption. His innate technique, Malevolent Shrine, is conceptually structured like a kitchen, and his main attacks, Dismantle and Cleave, work like perfectly precise blades. Furthermore, throughout the Shinjuku Showdown arc, Sukuna constantly refers to the battle as a feast, and the sorcerers as ingredients to cure his boredom. And let's be honest, the crew doesn't need a cook like Sanji making pasta. We need a monster who can butcher a dragon or an entire army and serve it to the crew. So yeah, for the cook role, we're obviously going with Sukuna. Next up, it's time to choose a rookie for our crew. For this one, I'll get straight to the point. In a crew filled with cosmic entities, the rookie spot belongs to the member with the highest potential for growth and evolution, and that's why I'm choosing Shigaraki. His true value lies in his resilience and the power of all for one. In the Star and Stripe arc, Shigaraki survived a battle with America's strongest hero, a near-reality warper who could literally rewrite the laws of physics. He tanked an atmospheric vacuum and hypersonic missiles, adapting mid-fight to steal her quirk and stay alive. By the final war arc, his body had evolved so far that he no longer relied on quirks to fight. His physical form constantly morphed to counter any threat, even creating a finger armor that overwhelmed the top heroes. A rookie's job is to learn, adapt, and grow, and Shigaraki's body does exactly that on a biological, instinctive level. Under Captain Frieza, he becomes a terrifying prodigy. So for the rookie role, Shigaraki is the perfect fit. Next, let's choose an assassin. Well, we could have gone with Hit from Dragon Ball here, but since we already picked Frieza as our captain, we need someone from another universe. Shiryu from One Piece is also a great option, but I'm saving One Piece for later. So let's pick someone who still fits this role extremely well. And for me, that someone is Muzan Kibutsuji. An assassin's primary job is to eliminate targets quietly and survive the impossible, and Muzan is the master of both. His case begins with his terrifying biokinesis and shapeshifting. Muzan can flawlessly alter his appearance, aura, and even his biology to pass as a human woman, a sickly child, or a wealthy man. This allows him to bypass any security system, any social environment, and get close to a target without raising suspicion. Now, you might say Muzan has one major weakness: sunlight. But don't worry about that, there's a certain someone else in this crew who's going to solve that problem for him. So stick around till the end. So for the assassin role, I'm going with Muzan Kibutsuji. Now we need a swordsman. For this role, we could take someone from the One Piece world, but why should we, when we can simply choose Sosuke Aizen? You see, unlike traditional swordsmen who rely on brute strength or cutting techniques, Aizen's swordsmanship is absolute because it's inescapable. His precision is so overwhelming that early in the Soul Society arc, he stopped Ichigo Kurosaki's blade, a blade moving at supersonic speed with a single index finger, showing that even master swordsmen don't come close to his level of control. But his true qualification comes from his Zanpakuto, Kyoka Suigetsu. Its ability, complete hypnosis, lets him control all 5 senses of anyone who witnesses its release. This means his swordsmanship becomes a mix of flawless technique and unavoidable illusion. In the Thousand-Year Blood War arc, even while restrained to a chair, Aizen's connection to his sword was so strong that he managed to disrupt Yowatch, a being capable of seeing and rewriting the future itself. Aizen warped Yowatch's perception of time and space, creating the tiny opening needed for his defeat. And of course, his spiritual pressure alone is enough to crush weaker souls simply by his mere presence. So for the swordsman role, we're going with Sosuke Aizen. Next, we need a strategist for our crew. Okay, the first obvious answer for this role is Johann Liebert. I mean, this guy is a true monster. He can dismantle an entire empire just by talking to its leader for 5 minutes. He drives enemies insane before the battle even starts. But the problem is, he's still just a mere human. Sure, his intellect is god tier, but he wouldn't survive a crew filled with cosmic and supernatural monsters. So we need someone who meets 2 criteria. First, he or she should be extremely intelligent. Second, Second, he or she should possess any supernatural abilities to survive in this crew. And if you ask me, the one who fits both perfectly is Makima. As the control devil, she turns the enemy's strength into her own weapons. Her primary ability allows her to control anyone she perceives as lesser than herself, meaning she can instantly enslave opposing armies, beasts, or even weaker crew members to execute complex plans without hesitation. Her strategic foresight is unmatched. She orchestrated the entire public safety saga and meticulously engineered Denji's life, his relationships, tragedies, and losses just to break his contract with Pochita. This level of long-term manipulation means the crew's victory is decided long before the battle ever begins. On top of that, her control over lower life forms like rats and birds give her a global surveillance network, allowing her to listen in on conversations and monitor enemy movements anywhere in the world. So for the strategist of our crew, we're going with Makima. And you know what even Makima can't control? That subscribe button right there. Go ahead, click it and see for yourself. Next, we need a scientist for our crew. For this role, I have one character in mind, and that is none other than York from One Piece. York, designated as Punk-06, is one of the 6 satellites of Dr. Vegapunk, representing his aspect of greed. She initially acted as an ally to the Straw Hat Pirates, but was later revealed as the traitor who triggered the Egghead incident and many events leading up to it, so she definitely qualifies as a villain for this crew. You see, Vegapunk is stated to be 500 years ahead of humanity, and York has access to all of his knowledge: Void Century technology, Devil Fruit replication research, advanced robotics, everything. But her biggest asset for this crew is her Seraphim technology. Imagine her taking DNA from Aizen or Garo and creating an army of Seraphim Garos or Seraphim Aizens that obey orders perfectly. She could essentially turn our elite crew into a mass-produced army of monsters. So for the scientist role, I'm going with York. Next, let's choose a summoner. The perfect candidate for this role is none other than Lucius Zogratis. For those who don't know, he's the main antagonist of the Black Clover universe, and his summoning abilities are on an entirely different level. Lucius doesn't just summon mindless creatures, he creates god-tier warriors known as paladins. Using his soul magic, he purifies the souls of supreme devils and fuses them with humans, resulting in loyal, immortal servants with dual mana attributes. He demonstrated this instantly by transforming Sister Lily, Damnatio Kira, and Morris into paladins, granting them devastating abilities like spatial magic and atmosphere magic, capable of overwhelming the Clover Kingdom. But that's just the beginning. His summoning extends to the Guardian Angels, massive, multi-headed divine beasts he calls down from the heavens to blast enemies into oblivion. These angels were powerful enough to stalemate entire squads of magic knights by themselves. However, Lucius's most broken summon is he himself. During his fight with Yuno, Lucius revealed he could clone himself, summoning dozens of full-powered duplicates. Each clone possesses his entire arsenal of time magic and gravity magic, essentially creating an army of Lucius-level monsters. And remember when I mentioned someone in this crew who could fix Muzan's inability to move in sunlight? Yeah, that someone is Lucius. With his soul magic, he can simply alter Muzan's soul, allowing him to move freely in sunlight and potentially become even stronger than he already is. So for the summoner role, we're going with Lucius Zogratis. Now it's time to choose 2 members for our defense force. Okay, so we've already used most of the strongest anime verses like Dragon Ball, One Punch Man, Bleach, and so on, so we can't pick from them again. With the universes we have left, the best duo for this role is none other than Madara Uchiha from Naruto and the Demon King from 7 Deadly Sins. This pair creates an impenetrable conceptual defense wall that protects the crew from physical, magical, and even dimensional threats. Madara, specifically in his Ten Tails Jinchuriki form, provides the physical and spatial defense. His primary defensive tool, the Truth-Seeking Orbs, is made from all 5 chakra natures, plus yin-yang release. These orbs float behind him autonomously and can be shaped into shields that erase anything on contact at a molecular level, nullifying almost all energy-based attacks. On top of that, his Limbo Hangoku ability creates 4 invisible clones existing in a parallel dimension. These clones act as unseen bodyguards, intercepting attacks and knocking enemies away before they even get close to the ship. On the magical side, the Demon King provides absolute counter defense through his innate ability, the Ruler. This power is a literal cheat code. Any harmful attack directed at him instantly converts spirits into healing and nourishment. If any enemy fires a galaxy-destroying beam at the crew, the ruler turns that destruction into pure stamina for the Demon King, and any attempt to debuff or weaken the crew becomes a buff instead. Together, they cover every angle. Madara erases physical matter and all energy-based attacks. The Demon King inverts magical damage and status effects. So for the defensive force, we're going with Madara Uchiha and the Demon King. We've covered the defensive force, but what about the offensive force next? For this role, I have two characters in mind, Antares from Solo Leveling and the Anti-Spiral from Gurren Lagann. Antares, the King of Dragons, represents the pinnacle of physical and magical destruction on a planetary scale. His signature attack, the Breath of Destruction, serves as the crew's ultimate flamethrower. It doesn't just burn matter, it completely erases anything it touches from existence, forcing even Sung Jin Woo, the Shadow Monarch himself, to dodge rather than tank it. On top of that, Antares commands the Army of Destruction, millions of ancient dragons capable of overwhelming entire enemy fleets through sheer numbers. On the other side, the Anti-Spiral operates on an entirely different league. He's basically an endgame boss who functions on a scale where physics don't matter anymore. While Antares can wipe out planets, the Anti-Spiral destroys galaxies. He can rip two galaxies out of space and smash them together like flies. He can manipulate probability itself, reducing the chance of an attack hitting him to 0%. He even controls the luck of the battle. His ultimate technique, the Infinity Big Bang Storm, converts the collision of galaxies into a focused beam of energy, rivaling the birth of the universe. So you can already guess what level of destruction we're talking about for this offensive force. For this role, we're going with Antares and the Anti-Spiral. Okay, up next is the healer role, but honestly, I don't think this monstrous crew even needs a dedicated healer. And even if someone did need healing, we already have Lucius, who can handle that easily. So why add another member when he can already do the job? With that said, let's move on to choosing the final candidate for our crew, the Wildcard position. Now for this role, why not just go with Dio Brando? Yeah, I know, compared to the heavy hitters in this crew, Dio might seem a little underwhelming at first, but just imagine this. Dio stops time. In that frozen world, he drags the enemy directly into the path of, say, Frieza's attack. Time resumes. The enemy gets instantly vaporized without ever realizing they were moved. That's why Dio is the wild card. He creates checkmates out of thin air. You don't always have to be insanely strong to be insanely valuable, you know? So for the wild card, I'm going with Dio Brando. Lastly, we need to give this crew a name, but I'm leaving that job for you guys. Drop your best suggestions in the comments, and whichever one gets the most likes, I'll pin it. That'll become the official name of this crew. Click on this video next, where we made What If New Gen strongest characters fought against old gen villains. Go on, check it out.